So, second half of this, the real second half, is just a repetition, but a transposed repetition. So, for those of you that don't understand what transposing is, when we're talking about people singing, that's usually where this comes into play. So, if I want to play a song and I want to work with a singer who has a higher voice versus a singer with a lower voice, I have to change the way I play the song, what position or what keys I start on will be higher or lower depending on that person's voice to match them. So we could very simply look at that as just, okay, I'm taking a C and transposing it up to F. Well, how far did I transpose it? I transposed it up a fourth. 4 notes, right? It's a little more complicated than that when you do this with an entire melody or an entire song. Let's say that our melody is 3 notes. Right? So we're just walking up 3 on C. That's our starting note, and we walked up 3. If I wanted to transpose that up to F, well, F is our starting note, but we're also going to walk up. Right? So see, I took that melody and I transposed it higher. That's what we're going to be doing with this. Our starting position was on our E minor chord. We had the G and the B, which is really the rest of our E minor chord, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to be transposing that up 4, exactly like my example. So if I just go across the white keys, just to make this simple, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is our new starting position on A, and this is going to be in the key of A minor. This is E minor. This is A minor. From here, our patterns are going to feel and look very similar. So just as we had our 6 hits with our left-hand chord doing every other hit, it's going to work the exact same way, just in a new position. So we're here now, and we're going to use the same fingers as well, by the way. Together, right, together, right, together, right. Now, what did we do after that? We went up this curve. And you can see that curve occurs a half step below my top note here. So it went up half steps from there, right? So similarly, if we're in this new position, a half step below my top note here is going to be this D sharp. And that D sharp is going to go up the curve the same way we did in the other position, in the other key. So this curve is exactly the same as it would have been down here. It's just higher. So again, 6 counts on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to go up this curve. 3, 4, 5. And that 5 is the F. And that's a good clue for our left hand to move my thumb up to the F at that point. Back down to the curve. And when I come back to the E, my left hand goes back to E as well. And I'm using those same 2 notes I had at the beginning, except one at a time. From here, if you go back to our original position, we had this A. The A was in between the first 2 notes that we played on our chord. And just like that, our in between our 2 notes here is going to be the D, and we're going to go a half step down to the C sharp. All right, so that's our last half of that. Left hand came down to here, and then we're going to go back up to the thumb on F. And remember, the left hand took over the melody. We're going to replay this and step back down. And so from here, we're on this A minor chord, and we're going to do that curve that we had just like in the other position as well. So this time the black key is a D sharp, and when you get to that, your left hand is also going to play the D sharp. You can even use the same fingers, whether that's your thumb or your 2 finger. So let's play through that. Together on F, back down the curve, together on E, together on the D, thumb up. Left hand takes over, steps down, up the curve, together on the black. Then we start the repeat. Remember what I did earlier? I also started the repeat with my thumb on that note, and we're going to do the same thing because as we go up the curve, instead of going up to the curve to the F, we're going to go all the way to G this time. You can kind of think of that as fulfilling almost a C chord. Well, our chords in the left hand, which were previously G minor, F minor, and then E minor, are now going to be C minor, B flat minor. This one's a little strange, and if you haven't done a lot of black key chords, this will take some getting used to. So it's the two black keys. You can kind of think of like the two blacks and the three blacks. It's the two that meet each other here, right around middle C, and then your thumb is on the F. That is a curve-shaped chord. I know it says A sharp. I think of this as a B flat chord, B flat minor. And then back to A minor. So let's just practice that left hand. C minor. So C chord with the middle note down, a half step. B flat minor. And then A minor. So if you're not really used to that chord, you may want to practice it a little bit by itself and just get used to those three chords here. So back to the right hand. Up to the G, which is with our C minor chord. And remember, we're going to come down, we're going to loop these white keys here. All right? And when we get to that end of the loop, that is the top note of our B flat minor chord. And again, just like we did before, we're coming down to the bottom note of our B flat minor chord. So F to B flat. Now we're going to stay in this position and start the pattern again, now on the F with our B flat minor chord. And again, we're using that curve this time. Back to A minor when we get to that E. And all the way down to A, which is the bottom of our A minor chord. And then we had two chords at the end. So this time, we're going to have our A minor chord, which is, we're going to leave off that top note. It's just the A and the C. And the left hand is going to be the outside notes, E and A. We're going to bring our two finger up and play E and D together. The right hand is going to take these two notes down a half step. Now, that was a little easier in some respects in the previous half. In the key of E, we could just come down to both black keys here. It's a little easier to see that transition. It's still a half step. So from here, when you go down a half step from your A, that's the G sharp, A flat. But when you go down a half step from C, this is where two white keys meet each other. So that's a half step moving from the C to the B. So here it's going to actually move down to B with the G sharp. So you might practice that a little bit just to get used to that transition. And then left hand with the D and the E. All we have left is a tailpiece. At the end of all of this, you're in this A position, and what you're going to do is just run down the 5 steps with your left hand. So if you got 5 fingers over 5 notes, A is your lowest note, you're just going to run from the E all the way down to the A. Pretty simple, right? Your right hand is also going to do a little 5-step pattern, but we're going to move everything up really high. We're going to start on the D, and where we ended, by the way, was on this chord. All right, so your hands are really close together here. The left hand isn't going to have to move. You're actually going to start on this E here and walk down. And it's a really quick run. So you're going to have to practice that. But the right hand is actually going to come up not to this D, but to the next. So it's more than an octave. And we're going to run up the 5 steps on the right hand. So the left hand went down the 5 steps. The right hand's going to go up the 5 steps. But there's a black key. We're going to play this G sharp with our 4th finger, and then the A at the end. It gives it a very exotic quality, that same mysterious sound that we've had in this song all along. So the left hand does its 5 steps, and then the right hand does its 5 steps. Sort of like an answer. Question, answer. We're going to play a couple chords in the left hand to go with those last 5 steps, one at the beginning and one at the end. Your left hand is going to come up here to the next octave, and instead of A and E, so this is our A minor chord here, and that's going to be your final chord actually. Before that, we're going to just move our bottom note here down to the G sharp. If that's uncomfortable with your 5th finger, you can actually play it with your 4th. That's fine too. Some people even use 3, but whatever you feel comfortable on that black key. We're going to play that key and then come up to the A. And when you do, go ahead and add back in your middle note. So we're going from this chord to this chord. And I would recommend just practicing that chord alone. Just getting used to the transition between those two. All right, so as you play your 5 steps going up, your first note, the D, goes with your first chord. And the last note goes with your last chord. Notice I'm doing the staccato thing again. So just the very last chord, I'm letting off of right away. And it gives us this kind of clipped, finished sound. All right, so one more time. 5 steps. Let's go back to our chords. So we did this chord. Now I want you to notice something. Your left hand is actually going to be playing that chord right here where your right hand is currently. So that is the bottom note of the chord you're going to play. So that's a good way to preview where you're going next. You can get your left hand into position there and then move the right hand up to the D. And they go together and then together at the end. I left something out. Our chords, and the left hand is actually going to do its run down the 5 steps first. There you have it, your finale for the entire piece. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, make sure to give me a good like and subscribe, and I'll try to add more pieces like this in the future. Good luck to you.